Seven blessings upon you. My name is Richard Vigorelli, and this is the Vigorelli Institute. Now, talking about the future of Westeros here, and specifically we're talking about the future of the Seven. Oh boy, the Seven! I love Starlight, she's so pretty, and oh my goodness, Homelander is amazing. No, stop it. This is a religion. That's a completely different franchise. I will get to that one in a minute. Got one or two issues. Anyway, on to the religion of the Seven, also what I call Septism, because that makes more sense. That is a major component of the world building of Game of Thrones. Okay, now remember, with this, I am talking about the shows, not the books. The shows are finished. They have a whole mess of problems, whereas the books are not finished. I haven't read them, so I don't understand the lore enough to really speak on it. Okay? All right, so Septism came to Westeros from a group of people called the Andals. They are from a spot just east of Braavos called the Axe. Yes, that is technically book lore, but it is touched on in the show, so hush. Okay? And the way it behaves, especially in its medieval context, it's a lot like Roman Catholicism, which is a religion I'm actually quite familiar with. Okay? Because, well, my dad's Catholic, so there we are. All right. The way it behaves, the way the people act, very Catholic. They've got these large buildings. They're really pretty, laced with stained glass and marble and various other things, and there's statues and stained glass and all this. It's a cathedral, okay? It's called a sept because it is for seven gods that act as one. Sure. Okay. And the whole idea of it is you do as you're told, and good things happen to you. I'm not going to go through the individual gods and their place in the religion and all of this. It does have a book. It's called the Seven-Pointed Star. Basically, akin to the Bible, each god has its own book within there, and it basically lays out in story form and explanations as to what you're supposed to do. Very, very biblical. Okay? So, at the end of the show, a building called the Great Sept of Baelor gets destroyed by Cersei using a ton of wildfire. Okay? It's green, bunch of people blow up. It was a massive, holy crap moment in the show. Okay? She took out a large number of the ruling elite in Westeros with that move. She took out a massive chunk of the religion's powerful people. And that's going to have some ramifications. Okay? Now, when the show ends, it's been, what, 2-3 years since that happened? So you're not going to notice it very quickly. This is going to take, a generation, okay, before you start to see any differences. And one of the differences you're going to see is two sects in the religion. A sect is a group of people that believe a certain way, but still hold to the major beliefs, okay? One group is going to say, we need the Great Sept back. It is a massive piece of who and what we are, and we have to have it for the religion to remain cohesive. The other group is going to say, it's just a frickin' building, dude. I can build another building, okay? The true religion lies in here and in here, okay? The gods are everywhere because they created existence, so therefore we don't really need the building to be in their presence, okay? These two philosophies are echoed in Christianity and Judaism in our own timeline. One group of Jews, after the temple was destroyed for the second time, said, yeah, we're done. We're done. I miss it, but we're done. Okay? It keeps getting knocked down. I'm not building it again. We're headed out. Okay? The other group said, no, we need to have it, and we're going to stick around until we have the ability to build it again. And there was an issue. Okay? You also see it in many forms of Christianity. Okay? Catholicism is very, very about buildings, structure, ritual, things like that, whereas things like Baptistism, they like having churches, but, you know, if we need to, we'll meet in the frickin' woods, man. Okay? Which they've done. Okay? All right. Now, I am not endorsing or bashing any one religion. These are facts. Okay? So, as these two groups begin to convert more and more followers to their side, you're going to see a schism happen within the religion. And one group, the group that is really into getting the Great Sept back, is going to do everything that they can to control King's Landing, because King's Landing is now technically a holy city because a bunch of people were martyred there for the faith. Okay? Whereas the people who don't care about having it are going to spread out more. King's Landing will still technically be a holy city, but they're going to be probably a lot more interested in getting into the deep past of the religion and going much more into where Septism began, which is going to be over in Essos. Okay? And then something else is going to happen. You see, by the time these two groups are very, very populist enough, I'm kind of doubting that Westeros is going to exist as a country. Okay? We're probably going to be entering into a Warring States period here, which is in a previous video, Future of Westeros. That would be part 2, if I remember correctly. Well, I've only done 2, so... All right. Now, one of the things that is heavily dictated on religion is local culture. Okay? For example, let's look at Catholicism. Okay? Mostly because I know it pretty well, and it's a really, really easy example. Okay? All Catholic Mass is said exactly the same. Okay? The priest and his entourage walk down the center aisle. One guy's carrying a staff with a cross on it, and at least one guy's carrying the Bible, and there's a bunch of other people, you know, like this, and come in, set everything down. Hello, everybody, please. And he does this thing, does the Eucharist, etc., etc., etc. Says his lesson for the day. They do the peace thing, and we're out the door. Like that everywhere in the Catholic world. Has been for centuries. Okay? However, there's little idiosyncrasies between somebody from Ireland, somebody from Sicily, and somebody from Buenos Aires. Okay? And those are often venerated saints. Okay? And specific feast days, and what is eaten on general feast days, like, say, Christmas or Easter. Okay? There's going to be sub-beliefs that come in based on the local culture. Okay? There's also going to be certain superstitions that are going to come in based on the local culture that you won't find anywhere else. Okay? But they are still Catholic held. Okay? Now, why is that important to Septism? Well, when the individual areas of Westeros begin to cleave off from each other and balkanize and go to war again and then reconstitute and all of this, there's going to be some cultural variation there. Okay? And certain people are going to come up in the faith, just like they did in our timeline, in Catholicism, Protestantism, and various other religions all throughout the world, and they are going to be localized to a given area, okay? Like, you're not going to see St. Patrick's Day observed in the little Catholic enclave in Central Africa, okay? That's an Irish thing, all right? So I'm willing to bet that a couple hundred years after the shows, maybe even 50 years after the shows, somebody is going to be born that's going to be like really, really good at the Faith of the Seven. They're going to come up with a whole bunch of new and exciting stuff. Something's going to happen to him, and a lot of people are really going to band behind him, and he's basically going to become what they would call a saint, okay? Or a prophet, for that matter. And he's going to, depending on what he says and how he says it, the religion in that area might shift, okay? And if it shifts enough, then it can't be said necessarily to be the same religion. Now, it also depends on how powerful the other version of Septism is. If the version of Septism that is in charge is the original and completely different from the new one, these guys are now heretics, and they're going to have a very, very bad day. Okay? Now, heretical systems aside, there's something else that will likely happen, and this is just because of polytheism. Okay? One of the things with polytheism is you usually get a deity that covers a certain aspect of life, a certain aspect of existence. You actually see this in Hinduism. A lot of people think that Hinduism is a cohesive religion of many gods. Wrong, wrong, wrong. I actually met a guy, he was from India, he was a Hindu, and he says there are as many different versions of Hinduism as you want there to be. Okay? First, you got the big three gods, and then you've got a few gods below them and a few gods below them. And it kind of depends on what you do with your life and what you like to do with your life as to which ones you pay more or less attention to. Okay? The same thing's going to happen in Septism. Okay? Someone who is a laborer is really going to be into, what is he? The smith or the builder? I forget. Okay. He's going to be like really, really into him. There's going to be a shrine to him. He's going to be his this worker's primary god. Okay. Whereas you're kind of a soldier by trade, the warrior is going to be a lot more important to you than the crone. You don't care about the crone. Okay. Yeah, that's great wisdom. Sure, fine. How do I use the pointy thing? Okay. Is the crone's wisdom going to save me in battle? No. Okay. If you work in the healing arts, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, the mother's going to be a lot more important to you than the father. Okay? A lot more. So as a result of this, if a given area has a significant amount of the population essentially honoring one of the gods more than the other six, that god's going to rise to prominence and maybe even begin to absorb some aspects of the other gods into them. Okay? Very common. This happened in Kemetism. That is the religion of Egypt before the Greeks moved in, also while the Greeks were there. Various gods that the people liked more started to absorb other lesser gods into them, and those lesser gods just faded into obscurity. Okay? It happened among the Greeks. Arguably, that's one of the things that fueled monotheism in the Mediterranean basin is, well, if you look at depictions of the Christian god, he looks a lot like Zeus. Okay? And he also has all of these other abilities that at one time were held by completely different deities. And they just kind of got absorbed into one. Hey, look, one god, a lot easier. Okay? I would expect that or something similar to happen in Westeros. Okay? Not only that, we have a competing religion in Westeros. It just kind of came in. It's called Relor, which is the worship of fire and light, and also technically shadow, because that's where shadows come from, is light. Okay? So one of the things that's going to happen with that is as Relor gains more and more steam, the people that really, really like Septism are going to rally against it. That's going to change both religions in a given area. One of two things is going to happen. There's going to be a religious war, or they're going to unify. Usually the former is going to be a lot more common, okay? Especially with a religion that has an entire section of it called the faith militant. Yeah, these guys are a little bit on the zealot side, okay? Now, depending on how culture slides with that, the faith militant may become a full military arm. That happens a lot. Happened in Catholicism, happened in... Did it happen in Anglicanism? I forget. Okay. But there's quite a few, okay? Holy warriors, for instance. They are going to start to build up, and more versions of Septism are going to arise. Eventually, the church will implode upon itself, and a bunch of new religions are going to get hatched out into the world of Westeros and maybe off into Essos. Okay? But it depends on how centrally strong the capital of the religion is. If it's relatively weak, it'll fragment fast. If it's really strong, it will remain relatively the same and cohesive all throughout the world. Okay? It just depends. But with the Great Sept of Baelor being destroyed, the High Septon is gone, the High Sparrow is gone. I'm not exactly confident that it's going to remain cohesive. Okay? Bunch of new religions are going to come up. Now, as those religions gain and lose followers and fight each other and get pushed in and out of certain areas, some will survive and others won't. It just kind of depends. I have no doubt that Septism is going to remain a religion. I don't know how common it will be. Okay? I'm expecting a bunch of stuff to happen with that, and it'll take probably about 1,000 years for things to calm down. Okay, from the point of the books. From the show. From the time the show ends to where nobody even cares anymore, probably about 1,000 years. So that's kind of what happens in Europe. It took, give or take, 1,000 years. Yeah. Before it was like, I don't care. Okay. So, that's about all I've got for you on the 7. If you're new to the channel, hit that big red subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and if you want to give your impressions about this, if you want to yell at me, by all means, please do. Again, I'm not trying to be controversial here. I'm merely speaking fact in history. Okay? I do not condone or decry any religion whatsoever, so relax. Okay? Alright, if you like what I do, feel free to pop over to Patreon and go ahead and look me up there. The link will be in the description. Contribution starts at $1, ends at $3, beginning at $2. You can actually make requests that, if feasible, I will do them for videos. Okay? So, I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.